The future of work and leadership always starts with us. Welcome to the Dr. Ginny Show. Let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Dr. Ginny Show. I have a very special guest today. Her name is Eunice Atuejide, and she is going to talk to us about the topic of Happiness is Free, her brand new book that was published in June 2025. And you may be asking, Ginny, why are we talking about happiness in the middle of all the things that are happening in our economy right now? Exactly because of that, we're going to talk about happiness. And she's going to help us unpack the concept of happiness is free. And I'm very skeptical because I know for many people who may not be in a happy state, they may say that's just something out there for people who have no problems. And we're going to challenge that belief that happiness is accessible to all of us, regardless of what we're going through. And that's what we're here to discuss and dive into. So Eunice, please tell us about your leadership journey and what inspired you and your passion to talk about happiness is free.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ginny. I love the way you opened this up. Yes, happiness is the starting point, and that's what I'm trying to teach our leaders. You can't be all of you if you don't come from a place of joy. It's from a place of joy you have things to give to your workforce, to your colleagues, to your co-leaders. That's where you start from. So my name is Eunice Atuejide. I'm a laser coach, transformational laser coach. I'm a solicitor, both in Nigeria and here. I was born and brought up in Nigeria, but the life's journey has brought me now to the UK. I live in London with my 5 children and my granddaughter. And we are here being happy no matter what life is doing, even in my leadership, even in my work, even in my career. Joy is one thing you always find around me. Doesn't matter what I'm going through. And that's what I'm trying to bring to the leadership community. I'm trying to get leaders to understand that you must come from a place of fullness in order to give and increase and scale and do all those things we always need to do to move from point A to B as leaders.
Thank you, Eunice. For people who sometimes wonder or make assumptions about the past and the lives that we've lived, I know from my perspective, when we were connecting before we began to record a few weeks ago, we both talked about our past and the fact that we're both immigrants. We are both people who grew up in third world countries, if you may, who had lots of struggles growing up. So you would think that we would be jaded and that we would be almost like against this whole concept of living from a place of joy and happiness. My signature tagline is live with purpose, lead with joy. So that's where we really want to take this conversation into, knowing and being realistic that many of us are going through very difficult situations and challenging times. So what would you say, Eunice, are the top priorities that your clients face today? What are they running into that is hindering their ability to embrace joy and happiness is free?
One of the things that I have personally circled with a lot of my clients and society generally when it comes to leaders is that there is a very serious disconnection between leaders, people who are in leadership roles, and the people they are leading and themselves. There is a complete disconnection between self and the ones they are leading and the roles they are playing. So for me, I realized, or I try to guide my clients to understand that you have to connect with yourself first. You have to figure out who you are and come out from there to be able to help society be better. So it's that disconnect. Even there's so much connection. I mean, technology has brought everything into tiny little spaces around us. Yet there's that very deep disconnect that I think the more we connect to ourselves, the more human we become and the more humane our leadership would be. So that's what I've noticed. And that's where I take a lot of my work to. And I try to help leaders find themselves. Once you can connect back to who you are at your core, then you can bring back the most that you could to society and the world around you and shape the future in a more humanistic way.
From the work that you do with your clients, Eunice, what would be a tool that the listeners listening to our podcast today can apply to at least begin the process of connecting to
Yes.
self. And I know I do it through values. I connect them, help them connect to their values. I also help them connect to their unique value proposition, what they uniquely bring to the table, to their roles, to their leadership. I also help them connect with their vision because I believe that when you can
Yes.
connect to your vision, you really can operate in business in a way that aligns with the vision of the organization and the vision that you have for yourself as a leader. What would be a tool that you can share with them today?
Amazing. You've already taken away so many of them. So let me find something else that you have not hacked yet. And for me, some of the tools that I would encourage my clients to look into is service-based leadership. When they come into the room and they need to take people from A to B, they should come from the position of how best can I serve my team? How do I get the most out of my team by showing them who I am and how things are done in my space? So when you come from a service point of view, you are likely to extract a lot more from your workforce because then they trust you. You are not afraid to be vulnerable. You're not afraid to show whatever types of even weaknesses may come by your nature. And that would help your workforce to trust you and to follow you. Most times people are not looking for who to tell them what to do, but basically who to show them. And most of the time you show this by how you serve your team. So service is one thing I encourage my clients to incorporate into their leadership styles and skills and methods of leading their crew.
One of the things I want to ask you as you talk about service, in the context of connecting to yourself, what I'm hearing you say is connect to whatever that version is for you that will be the servant leader. Is that
Correct.
what you're referring to?
That's what I'm saying. You have within you the capacity to be vulnerable. A lot of us leaders don't want to be vulnerable because we are afraid of being judged. But that is actually the secret to good leadership. Allowing that vulnerability to show in the way you relate with your teams, seeing them as people you need to serve. You are understanding them, even just things as little as remembering their names are part of the things that would help you to be that servant leader. Encourage my clients to become for their good and for the good of the businesses they're doing too, because then you foster trust, you foster that emotional connection that most leaders tend not to have, and you are able to lead from a place of confidence because then your people know you and they accept you for who you are, and you also show up for them in ways they don't even expect. And like I said, things as minor as remembering their names. It's their birthday and you have a reminder somewhere. It is so amazing. And that's what I encourage my clients to incorporate into the tools they already have in their leadership roles.
And what I like about this is that in order to show up vulnerably, you as the leader must create a psychologically safe space and role modeling for your team what it is to not have all the answers, what it is to, despite not having the answer, still giving them certainty that we are smart, we'll figure out what the answer is together. What I also hear in what you're saying is, you know, that golden rule, do unto others. If more of us as leaders would treat others in our teams, our team members and contributors, in the way that we want to be treated, I think that we would short circuit so much hassle and toxic culture that sometimes is present when leaders are trying to be on a pedestal and trying to be perfect, which we know is a formula for disaster.
It's the fastest route to burnout and dissatisfaction and disconnect between the leaders and the teams and the entire entity that is being led. So that servant leadership is extremely important. And that's what I try to bring to the table. Another thing I try to bring to the table is that deeper understanding. You know what your strengths are,
Yes.
but you also know what your weaknesses are. And then you look into your team and you pick out ways to balance the energies. The energetics is something I try to encourage my clients to pay attention to. And it's actually quite easy to do. Sometimes you see People be loud. They talk and they sound loud and harsh, but that is just a character. It's a system. It's a way of avoidance for some people. And sometimes it's just the way their voices sound. It's not really what they're feeling, but it takes some asking questions, having a drink or coffee and paying attention, being present and trying to go beyond that first line. And then you just see that they talk like that because they are afraid or they are not confident or they worry about the way they are presenting. And then you have a chat or two with them and you realize that that thing I thought was harsh was actually her way of being vulnerable. And then you begin to understand. So now you're not just seeing it from the perspective of the leader who is hearing the team member shouting or being a bit on the harsh side, but now you're seeing and hearing somebody who needs to be encouraged to be themselves and to, even if you need to tone down the volume or whatever, do it from a place of love, from a place of understanding, from a place of connection, from a place where nobody is judging you, but everybody is encouraging you to do more in a way that embraces everybody's own system and style. So I encourage my leaders to pay attention, be present, try to look beyond that first line because there may be a message behind it for you that could help you build a stronger, more coordinated, more intimate team. The more trust your team have, the more connection you find in your team, the greater the success you can create for yourself and for the company or the business or the charity or whatever it is that you're working for. So that connection, that presence, that vulnerability, just allow, you'll be surprised how much better they would perform because now they know that it's okay to be vulnerable. Now they know that it's okay to be you. It's having that feeling, like using more of your intuition in your leadership.
And a lot of this requires emotional intelligence. And it's being self aware of how you're showing up, how your words, your actions are landing for members. And in what you shared, Eunice, I also heard in coaching, there's something we call natural openings. And there are opportunities that as a leader, when you are present, when you are mindful, and when you have your emotional intelligence self-awareness button turned up to really, really high, that there are opportunities when you notice certain behaviors within your team that are natural openings to create a closer connection with that team member by approaching them as the coach and not as the person who's judging them.
Yes, as somebody who is curious about them, who is interested in them, who is available to support them should they need or be open to that support. So these are things that help to get your team functioning at optimal levels because these are all the things that make us human. We have to be human first to be good leaders.
Eunice, this is a great opportunity to segue into the topic of happiness. What is one misconception people have about happiness in the context of your book, Happiness is Free?
The biggest misconception that I have come across is that people think happiness comes as a reward. Like it comes after you achieve something. It's the reward for your hard work, for your hustle. It's the gain after the pain. And I don't subscribe to that. For me, happiness is the foundation. It's from that place of joy that you start to go out there to make the money, to try to be the good parent, try to be the good leader, or whatever it is you're trying to do. So happiness is the foundation because it is from that place of knowing, that place of presence, that place of joy, that place of bliss that you are able to produce at your highest possible level.
Yeah.
So if you take out the happiness feeling and state, you have taken out, I think, even up to 80% of the opportunity because now you're going in from a place of hustle, a place of stress, a place of burnout, a place of pressure, perfection. Yes. And you cannot achieve at your highest from that place. But if you come from a place of bliss, a place of joy, a place of settlement, a place of presence, then your chances of achieving even 100 times more increases drastically. So that misconception is what I try to resolve with the book Happiness is Free.
And I would imagine, by the way, that this whole concept of happiness, it's not a destination, it is a journey.
It is a journey. and it's already here. It's not tomorrow. It's not after you have the baby. It's not after you marry. It's not after you get the promotion. It's not after all those things. You actually need to be happy in order to get those things to you faster.
I have to say
Okay.
this, Eunice. It
Okay.
doesn't happen naturally because our natural brain, our brains were designed with a negativity bias, right? We had to survive. So how do leaders get themselves in this happy state from which they build basically the foundation for their day? Because I know, for example, with my community, we work on daily practices to support this high energy, feeling replenished, feeling restored. We talk a lot about self care. We talk about the self care of the inner chatter, because if we don't quiet down this inner chatter, it doesn't matter what I read or how many podcasts I'm listening to that would make me happy when I am my worst enemy. So, what are some of the tools you give your clients to build this daily foundation of happiness?
I love you, Dr. Ginny. You see, I have the fortune of having lived a life that just was joyful. I come from scarcity, but even in that scarcity, I was happy. And one of the reasons I became a coach and started doing my public speaking and writing is because I realized that it's not the same for many people, especially out in the West, where I think so much is going well compared to where I come from, where almost nothing is going well. So the idea that people are so unhappy and so depressed despite all these things going on good for them was what made me go back and start looking again like, oh, I was fortunate. And one of the things that I started doing was reading up, checking, okay, and there are lots of tools out there, but then I bring mine to three main things that are everybody who wants to be able to show up from a place of joy, bliss, comfort should do. First of all, learn to forgive.
Mm.
You have to learn to forgive. You have to be able to look at all the things people have done to you that really, really deeply hurt you and then choose to let it go, forgive them, forgive yourself for even giving them the opportunity to hurt you that much, because that's something that could make you feel bad too and really mess up your mind. So you have to forgive yourself and then forgive them. The moment you manage to forgive, especially those who have done the worst atrocities to you will just feel so much bliss, so much freedom, so much lightness. And you need
Lighter.
this you feel so much lighter. You need this to step out and do the great work you're supposed to do. It helps me. So I believe it will help anybody who tries it. Gratitude. Being able to see around you all the good things that are already working well without you being conscious of them, because we are always going on for the next one, the next one, the next one, not realizing that so many things have actually gone well. You are healthy. You have air to breathe. You're not in a hospital bed. There's so much that you could look at right now.
But we take
And
it for
wow,
granted.
we take them for granted. Like in Africa, there are times I don't have food for 3 days. And here, there's food everywhere. Literally walk out of the street. Somebody has thrown
At
away their
home.
bananas or whatever. There's food anywhere. And then I realized that even as I'm eating now and I can feed my children, there's still so many people out there who can't eat,
All
who
right.
can't feed, who don't have shelter over their heads. And
But
we
what,
all live in.
what you're saying is perspective. Basically, it's gratitude with perspective, because it's to be grateful for what we have learned to take for granted because we have it, and to really open our eyes to see that there's people all over the world that don't have the basics that we have, that we think is
For
nothing.
granted. And then when you are grateful for that seemingly nothing, you begin to realize that it is actually something. You actually begin to truly appreciate those things. Like, oh, I won an award and I didn't even take it seriously because it was just big deal. That's actually something. Gratitude, it's so important. Another thing that works well for me is contribution, being able to give. And I'm talking about little things. Sometimes it's just that smile. It's just that, hey, how are you? It's just that compliment. It's just that support. They're very little things, but they go such a long way for you, the giver, and for the receiver. Even you, the giver, you're feeling so much better than even the person who is receiving. So these are some of the tools I try to get my leaders to inculcate. And these are very simple, easy things to
Simple.
do,
Yes.
easy shifts. And then every day you find you can come out and already be feeling better before you even step out of your car to get into the office. And when you come in from that place of contribution, forgiveness, and gratitude,
Gratitude.
it's difficult to not be a good person for your clients, for your colleagues, at your work. It's difficult to not even enjoy what you're doing. It's difficult to come in there and be grouchy because you're already feeling good. You're grateful. You have given a smile to two or three people on the streets. You've dropped a penny for that beggar or something. You're already feeling joy before you even walk into the space where you're supposed to now be tackling issues and making decisions and moving people forward and getting answers and outcomes for yourselves. These are three things I tell people every single day, practice them.
I love and I appreciate so much these three tools. So, just to recap, the first tool is forgiveness. Make a list of the people who you choose to forgive. And the forgiveness is for them and for yourself, because I know that that can take up so much mental space when we have someone in our mind that we know they wronged us and we feel there's blame and the shame, etc. Let's put that
Yeah.
baggage down. So that's the first one. The second tool you gave us is gratitude. And I am such a big believer in the practice of daily gratitude. I tell my clients in the morning, three things you're grateful for, or three things you're looking forward to. Or at the end of the day, three things that went great, three things that you appreciate about yourself and how you showed up that day. This is always accessible to all of us, but what we don't do, and I say this with love and compassion, is we don't practice these tools. We don't do it. I always say there's a pile of bad stuff and there's a pile of good stuff. We typically focus on the pile of bad stuff. That other pile is as accessible to us. So that's number two. And number three was contribution. Contribution is one of the six human needs, according to Tony Robbins. And the need for contribution is everybody has a need for contribution to serve others. Some of us more, some of us less. But contribution is the one human need that meets all other human needs: certainty, uncertainty, significance, connection, and growth. When we contribute to others, our cup runneth over because we feel good about helping someone else and we feel good about them and they feel amazing when we see them, when we let them know that I know you exist and I am validating your existence with as little as a simple smile.
Smile.
That's beautiful. So let's talk about the biggest challenges that your clients are facing today. When people come to you, Eunice, what are the biggest challenges that they're dealing with?
The most recurring problem with a lot of my clients right now is authenticity. They're struggling with showing up as themselves. Being able to come into a high pressure room and really be themselves, it's a problem. So trying to become who they really are in the office, at home, and stop playing the roles and stop showing up, changing identities. They want to be able to live this way I live. I don't care what anybody is thinking. I'm showing up the way I show up. They would like to do that, but they struggle with being themselves everywhere. There's a need to wear masks in order to maintain their positions, for example, their respect, their status. Being authentic is already who you are.
Here's what comes up for me when you share that authenticity is one of the biggest problems. I know that there are probably many people listening to us saying, I don't know what that means to show up differently in different contexts. So I just want to give a little bit of context. So as a Latina woman working in financial services and technology, I work primarily with men in my office and usually older men, especially when I started my career at 22 out of college. And when you don't look like, sound like, have similar backgrounds like the rest of the team that you work with, there is an invisible pressure to conform. And so people who don't have this mixed background may have difficulty connecting to what does that mean to not being authentic. I'm always authentic. I just show up and I do my job. I want to give that context because I'm not sure what the demographic or the type of clients that you work with are, but I know that I work with all types of clients of all different backgrounds, women, men in different industries. And I have noticed that for us, many of us women, showing up fully is a challenge because we don't want to be judged, because we don't want to sound stupid, because we don't want to be criticized because our style is different than somebody else in the room, when in fact it is. And so what we have done and what I have done and what many of our members have done in the past, if we conform and become chameleons, we take on this persona, we take on these characteristics that are not who we are, and then we feel like we're acting, like we're actually playing a role. And so I just wanted to say that for people who are wondering, what are they talking about?
You're absolutely correct. There is that need to play roles, to act, to be anybody and everybody else but themselves, their true selves.
And I would say that it has to do with acceptance and belonging. We want to be accepted and we want to feel like we belong.
The first thing I tell my clients is you have to practice radical acceptance of who you are. And the great thing that a lot of us don't realize is that people are actually looking for the real you. They want to meet you. So you are afraid, oh, I'll be judged because I have that accent. Oh, I'll be judged because I'm black. Oh, I'll be judged because my hair is different. That is it's actually your unique identity. And that's what people are looking to enjoy about you. So I encourage my clients to become more of who they were born to be.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that you need to be disruptive or annoy people, but you have your core traits. You are that person who walks into a room and is just joyful. Please smile. Please walk with your swag. Be that. You'll be appreciated for who you are. And that acting, oh, everybody's wearing suits and they're going in a way that works in this pattern. Let me do it because my boss does it. You don't need to. You just need to be yourself and show up as your authentic self, because that is the person everybody is looking for.
The concept of radical acceptance.
Yes.
Radical acceptance, to me, that's where most of the work is. Forget everybody else and what they think about you. For us, especially as leaders, when we radically accept ourselves, we are embracing the person we've become. And perhaps as we're doing that exercise, we may realize that there are parts of us that we don't love so much.
Get rid of that.
Let's work on that.
We're always evolving. And as you realize, okay, this part of me, this me who is always desperate to be accepted, who's always desperate to please, who's not looking out for herself, who's not trying to balance her needs with the needs that she's serving in other people, she needs to go. Then you begin the work. Reduce her, there's always that balance. It's a game for me. If I begin to see that, oh, my energy is coming up too much. Oh, come, I become the queen. Come on, let's do some work here. I don't want to be saying yes and going all about for you. Then I begin that inner work. And most times it's really just about what you tell yourself. Shut out all the things coming in from society, from environment.
It's challenging to do, especially in today's world of connectivity and social media.
Sometimes I think the things I take for granted,
yes,
are some of the things that are the huge challenges for the people around me. So I try to be patient. I try to really acknowledge and appreciate people, especially my clients, when they come to me with some of these things, because if I look at it from where I'm coming from, I'll be like, wow, what's wrong with this person? But then if I come from a place of curiosity, total acknowledgement and acceptance of their reality, then I'm able to help them, support them, and show them how come that story is not true. It's just a story that they have told themselves, and they need to tell themselves different stories.
And you're giving me a great idea, Eunice, because this whole concept of radical acceptance, imagine if as a leader, you showed up with radical acceptance of others.
Sweetest place to start from.
Talk about creating belonging and building trust. Trust, one of the pillars of trust is acceptance. People to accept you for who you are. Not to say that you are perfect or that you can improve, but that sounds to me like a great place to begin to build trust with your team, to accept them for who they are. And
Yes.
as we talk about acceptance and showing up authentically, I'm thinking about what happens to our teams when they feel accepted, when they feel trusted.
Look at yourself. When you walk into a space and you know they are not judging you, you know nobody is biased against you, nobody is seeing you as the intruder, as the Latino woman who's coming to take away the jobs. Everybody is just open, accepting, loving, showing you everything they've got. Like, this is me. I give you all I have. I accept you exactly as you are. Imagine that for each and every one of the men and women and even young people
Everyone.
in your team. That would be
Right.
heaven. And people want to work in a space that feels good, that feels welcoming, that feels loving. People don't realize that so much love is necessary in leadership. Everybody wants to perform, outperform everybody, and be the strictest and the fastest. No,
Mhm.
we need more humanity. We need more heart. We need more love in our leadership. And it comes from really radically accepting the people around us, our teams, workforces, suppliers, whoever they are.
And I want to be clear. There's skeptics listening to us. If Eunice and Ginny think that leading by loving everybody is going to work, they living in Mars. So we just want to highlight, especially our audience, that is mostly high performing, high achieving, who have accomplished so much in their careers that to get to your next level, you've worked really hard. You deliver projects. You're strategic. You're tactical. You lead your teams. You do all the things that we are expected to do. And we are proposing that when you really become yourself and accept yourself radically and accept others in your team radically and demonstrate that acceptance and show up with vulnerability and show up creating a safe space for them to belong, that is your next level. That's what we're
Absolutely.
suggesting.
Absolutely. Try it and test it.
Why don't we now have a little bit of fun? I know we've been talking about doing the work, and we want people to also understand, as you're listening to us, that doing the work is the journey of elevating to become the next version of who we are. I also want to highlight that there's a lot of joy in doing that because as we elevate, as we evolve, we get to know ourselves better. We get to know the people around us better. We connect with them. Our relationships get more intimate. They become deeper. You lead more fully. You shine brighter because now you're really shining from your core. You're not pretending to be someone. So we don't want to just make it sound like this is all work, work, work and no fun. There's a lot of fun. So let's have a little bit of fun now. And Eunice, let's do a lightning round. Tell me, what would you tell your younger self as you were starting out?
As a baby girl, you do not have to shrink to lead. Be yourself, come out there, do your thing, and trust that all will go for you exactly as you envisage that will go. It may take you longer, but you'll get there because there's nothing that's impossible in life.
Oh, that's such a beautiful message. I'm going to take that as if you were telling me that too. I love it. And Eunice, if you had no limitations in budget and time and resources, what project would you take on right now?
I will do a global academy for purposeful leadership. My coaching revolves around coming from a place of clarity and purpose to lead people into bigger achievement, bigger impact. So if I had no limitations, I would set up an academy where I can take leaders through my immersive coaching, show them how to discover who they really are, find the clarity, identify who they are, and from that place, find that project, that business, that career, whatever it is that they really want to do, and then put every piece of their love and affection into it so that they can have bigger impact. I'll do my VVIP retreats where I take people through these very deep transformational experiences. I do it in Egypt. I'm hopefully going to add Bali, where people just come in and then in 3 to 7 days, they come out as completely new people with new ideas about how to move their teams from A to B from a place of deep, deep, deep understanding and love. So that's one of the things I would really love to do right now. Start
Yeah.
my academy.
Awesome. And last, what is the best piece of advice you've ever received?
One piece of advice I got from my mother is that I am the one that has the answers. She told me when I went to her to ask her how I was to run my situation with my ex-husband. And she said to me, Eunice, I'm sorry, you have to figure this out yourself because all these years you have been the one making decisions and showing us the way. So how can I now tell you the way out of this mess you found yourself in? So I think that was the best advice I've gotten. And that is also what led me to all this work. Happiness is free. I would tell people who would care to listen that the best advice I could give you is success, achievement, and all those things come from your state of being. And that state of being is what I call your happy place. Find it and step out into the world from there.
Those are the beautiful closing words. I don't need to say anything else. I was going to ask you for your last words, but that was it. That was perfect. Eunice. I want to thank you for bringing to us the concept of happiness is free. I know that I was playing a role of the skeptic and I was stretching you out of this bubble that we can create for ourselves. And quite frankly, I've created my own bubble of joy and happiness. The world is the way the world is, and I can't change it. However, as leaders, I say it always starts with us. And as leaders, as we increase our emotional intelligence, become very self-aware of what is happening with us.
Yes.
And based on the input and that feedback that we receive, we can choose what we want to do with our lives, how we show up, and how we are being, which is how you close for us, Eunice. So thank you so
Yes.
much for being with us, for giving us the opportunity to have this conversation that was very raw, authentic. And I thank you for being a beacon in the world. And people didn't get to listen to your full story, so I hope that they check you out. I'm going to put your contact information in our show notes so they can go find out more about you, and would love it for them to connect with you and to
Amazing.
explore the work that you're doing in the world. Thank you for being that beacon who, in the midst of darkness, I'm going to use that word on purpose, or in the midst of us thinking that where is the light at the end of the tunnel, that you can say, hey, there's a flashlight over here. If you need support, we're here. And I feel the same way, that at Executive Bound, that is part of our role, to be that lighthouse. So anyone who needs the support can find us to support them.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ginny.
Thank you for being part of the Dr. Ginny Show. We can't wait for the next one. And until then, lead with purpose, live with joy. I'll see you soon. Bye, everyone. If you enjoyed today's content, I appreciate your review so others can find us, and share it with your friends. And to stay in touch, join our community to receive valuable strategies and expert advice at drginnybarrow.com. See you soon.